Hello everyone, my name is Alexa Petri, and today I will be presenting to you my final capstone presentation. So my public issue that I chose was the infant formula shortage that is currently occurring in the United States. I chose this issue because so many mothers and families were affected by the shortage and had a hard time trying to provide nutrients to their children. Many stores did not have the formula that families needed and ended up putting restrictions on how many containers of formula one could buy. This was because they took note of individuals buying and reselling the formula online for a higher price. This causes many families to resort to different means of nutrition that wasn't necessarily considered safe for the infant to consume, such as water or unregulated formula purchased overseas. I wanted to research ways to help resolve this issue, or at least make it a little bit easier for families to have access to different resources to help them through this difficult time. Now, why did I choose this issue? My personal connection to this issue is that my sister-in-law had her daughter a few months back and was affected by this formula shortage. My niece requires extra nutrients to help her stay strong and healthy that my sister-in-law wasn't able to provide to her, and so they had to resort to using formula to meet that need. When the formula shortage happened, they had to rely on luck when finding formula, or would hope that other family members may come across formula while shopping. Now, to become an educated citizen, there are three components that help make up this entire theory here. So, with an effective communicator is able to use critical thinking to generate, connect, and organize ideas in a written, oral, or verbal manner. Now, I had a recent experience with the IV team at Methodist Main Hospital where we were called down to the pre-op area to help start a midline for a patient before surgery. This particular patient was terrified of needles and was quite scared of what we were about to do and began crying as we walked into the room. We were placing a midline for the patient as they were coming back the next day to receive an infusion, and they didn't want to have to put her through this situation again. While the nurse prepped everything for placement, I began talking with the patient and helped distract her from what was about to happen and helped put her at ease so that she wasn't so scared anymore. She barely even noticed the needle going in and stated that if she ever came back to have surgery, she would be sure to ask for us. The communication that I completed with this patient was considered therapeutic in nature and was necessary to help put the patient at ease about a scary situation she was enduring. I learned that in patient care, we are partners with the patient and we need to communicate with them to help build and nurture a trusting relationship. Knowing that we are there for them in their time of need helps them to feel cared for and that we truly want to help them. I learned that with the formula shortage, families are scared about what to do about providing nutrient to their infants. With constant communication about resources such as milk banks and reassurance about how everything will work out, we can build a long-lasting and trusting relationship with our patients so that they know they can turn to us for any help that they need. Feeling supported in their time of need is essential to patient care. Now, during an experience about a couple semesters ago, I was up on the mother-baby floor with a patient who did not speak any English, and we had a hard time getting a translator on the Marty to help us since the patient's husband was not in attendance. The particular language that she spoke, I can't quite remember what it was, but it was one that they don't commonly use. So getting a translator on board was very, very difficult. And most of the times they weren't able to get one on board as well. So when we didn't have access to a translator, we had to use nonverbal cues such as observing the patient's facial expression and then also using our hands to point to objects or give a thumbs up or down about how the patient was doing. With this situation, I learned that I will likely come across many patients that do not speak English or speak very little English, and I will have to improvise with how I accurately get information across to the patient. I have to change the way that I typically communicate in order to meet the needs of the patient so that they are taken care of and remain knowledgeable about what is going on with their care. Whether this is a form of written communication or nonverbal communication, we have to use what we can so that the patient receives all they need to stay up to date on their care. I realized that many families that are struggling with the formula shortage are families of low income and are likely immigrants who speak little to no English. In order to help this population of people, we need to make sure any communication we are putting out there about resources and about different education opportunities to help their child is in formats that can reach and help those who do not speak English or speak very little English. This could include pamphlets or posters that come in a variety of languages posted around the community or online for them to read. Now, moving on to the second component of a educated citizen, we have to become a reflective individual. And a reflective individual is someone who routinely engages in habits of inquiry that influence his way of thinking and actions. Now, during my labor and delivery rotation at Methodist Women's Hospital, I had the opportunity to help a laboring mom who had chosen not to use an epidural with her birth. Her laboring process was very painful, and although I did not quite understand why she didn't want to use the pain intervention, such as the epidural, in the end, she was still able to deliver a healthy and beautiful baby boy. I learned that although there was a different option, such as using an epidural for the birth, the result of the situation would have still ended up the same with a healthy baby boy. It shows to me that the patient always has the right to decide what to do about their care, and although we might not always agree with it, we still need to support them any way that we can. Self autonomy is a core foundation of healthcare, and we have to respect its role in how we treat our patients. With this situation, it helped to open up my eyes about the hate that some mothers receive for choosing formula instead of breast milk to feed their infant. What many people don't realize is whether they use breast milk or formula, the infant is still being fed so that they continue to be healthy and grow up to be strong. Some may say that with the formula shortage, to just breastfeed your child instead, because it will help make the situation a little bit easier on them. But some may require formula due to the underlying reasons, such as the mom not being able to produce enough breast milk, or may have an underlying disorder such as cancer where they're not able to produce any breast milk. We have to understand that fed is best, and it is not always the mother's choice to resort to using formula, but when they do, we need to be there for that continuous support. Now, while at my job, I was floated to a different floor recently to help be a care companion. And when the patient was discharged later in the day, I stayed up on the floor to help as they were very short staffed in that moment and they definitely could have used the additional help. Even though I decided to help, I was still very unfamiliar with the floor as I had never been floated up there before, but I did my best to help out where I was needed. It was later on that I was presented with a patient who had just had surgery, and I normally work in the surgery department, so I've had experience with surgical patients, and the patient had requested to go up to the bathroom. I thought, I got this will be easy peasy. But the situation quickly changed, and as we began walking to the bathroom, she ended up passing out. This was a scary situation, but I was able to safely lower the patient to the ground. She didn't hit her head or anything like that, and I was able to call for help. We were then able to provide adequate care to the patient so that she remained safe and free from more harm. I learned that we always have to prepare for the unexpected. And even though that patient walking to the bathroom was fine one moment and wanted to go to the bathroom, it can always change in a moment's notice. We have to be able to think quick on our feet so that the patient's safety is maintained. I also learned that we are never truly alone in these types of situations and that there are people there to help you in your time of need and help determine the best course of action for the patient. From this scenario, I learned that things can change quickly, just like how quickly the infant formula shortage occurred. We have to be ready to adapt to the situation as best we can, such as finding alternate substitutes for formula and looking for additional resources for families. I also learned that, again, we're never truly alone, and connecting mothers to resources such as educational classes and a strong support system is key to help tackle the formula shortage. Now, the final component of the educated citizen consists of a change agent. And a change agent uses the disciplines of the liberal arts and science to analyze historical and contemporary situations and systems, to develop cultural competence, and to take appropriate initiative to effect change. Now, I recently had the experience where myself and a few of my classmates actually partnered up to complete a population focused project. We ended up working with the Coons Food Pantry, which I had helped out before when I was with the mobile diabetes clinic and was able to go in and help volunteer and organize items in there. But with my group, we were actually able to gather up donations for them to pass out to individuals and families in need. And then after discussing with the pantry members, it was determined that the personal hygiene products was the most desperate need that they had at the moment. So my partners and I coordinated with other individuals in the community to gather donations and put together personal care packages for individuals that visited the food pantry. From this experience, I learned that there are people out there that do not have access to basic items such as shampoo and toothbrushes. It opened my eyes to the change that one individual can make on someone else's life. And if we all step up to help such a vulnerable population, we can potentially help kickstart that individual's life again. This situation helped me realize that with everyone struggling to find formula, if we could team up together to advocate for additional resources such as milk banking to these patients, it could make a world of a difference. Many mothers and families feel alone in this situation and don't know who to turn to for help, but if we could be there for education and supplies, it could help a hungry child. A few semesters ago, I also had the opportunity to volunteer at an organization called Restoring Dignity, where their main function is to help replace items such as couches or kitchen items to those who have maybe been displaced from their homes. I was able to help organize donations and walk families through the facility to pick out items that they would likely take back to their temporary or their new home. From this scenario, I learned that there are many families struggling in our community to afford or find items to make their home feel like a home again. It opened my eyes to the idea that we must support each other in the community so that individuals can work on rebuilding their lives and be put on a path to success. In regards to the formula shortage, it made me realize that many individuals want to breastfeed but do not have the tools or education on how to properly complete it. If we provided lactation classes as well as help connect mothers to places that can provide pumping tools and items that can help store their breast milk, then maybe it would lessen the formula shortage. The price of formula is also on the rise due to the reselling. So connecting families with resources such as WIC, which can help provide different brands of formula for little to no cost. Now, in conclusion, the infant formula shortage has basically taken the nation by storm. But if we truly took the time to educate and provide the population of people who are affected by this with the right resources, we can make such a difficult time so much easier on them. We have to be willing to form these trusting relationships and become their advocates so that we can keep America's children healthy and well provided for. And utilizing the components of the educated citizen, such as communication, reflecting on what we are doing, and becoming that change agent and really stepping up and taking the time to help this population could definitely make the world of a difference. And definitely, these families would extremely appreciate it.